Severing the ties that bind. We are the pure, the sacred tribe. Our only law reigns from on high. We stand for love, fight for what's right.
Welcome everybody to the Rebel Roundtable, episode number 4, with me and
Jacquelyn. What's going on?
Coming at you from New Jersey all the way to the Oakland East Bay. We are trying to play catch up here because we haven't done this for like 2 months now. We've been hecka busy, and we got a bunch of really cool things coming down the pipeline. We can't tell you guys about everything, but September is going to be off the freaking chains. So believe me when I say we got a lot of exciting stuff going down with the Everyday Show crew and the Jersey Girls for Joe and Jacquelyn herself. It's going down in September, man. This is going to be a big friggin' deal. It's a big freaking deal. So, yeah, with that, man, Jacquelyn, how you been, man? What's up?
I've been great. Feeling amazing. I feel like things are being put into perspective the way they should. I feel like there's a movement being created and not a cult. You know, there's a difference. You know, the freedom to do it and belong. That's what's happening right now. And that's what we're creating, and that's what we want. You know, people to be themselves and enjoy life and really impact others that can't do for themselves. That's where we're at. So
yeah, I just got off the phone. Let me check one thing here. Blah blah blah. Meeting settings. Hold on 1 second.
Oh
shit. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, where's my... I don't know. It's not giving me my different views, but we'll hope that it just works out.
all right.
So, yeah, I just got off the phone with somebody really special that we can't really talk about just yet. But they had a lot of cool information about Georgia. They were calling from wine country, upper middle class, country in Georgia, and they were telling me about all the people that love their Biden shirts and their Biden masks and all their Biden swag. And in the middle of freaking Georgia, and not just any Georgia, we're talking gated community Georgia. So, man, that's good signs. Hella good signs.
Very good.
I'm excited about that. That's hella good news. You know, because I was talking about it recently. I just talked to somebody at the bank yesterday, and he was on the fence. He's like, I don't know, you know, Trump, Biden, I don't know, you know, I'm not really into politics, but blah, 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 blah. And by the end of the conversation, he was all in for Joe because there were so many things that he didn't even know about. And that's what we try to do with these roundtables and these videos, is we try to tell people, you know, what actually we're about, what the policies are, because a lot of people don't even know what the plans are, man. And, you know, you can go to the website, you can go look at them, but I understand it's pages and pages and pages, and that's boring. But the reason that it's pages and pages is because they represent millions of Americans and people like us, you know. So our website, everydayamericanjoe.com, that you're probably watching this video on, we try to break it down on the 2020 vision page. You got the greatest hits, and it talks all about the renter's credit. It talks about how we're going to tax people that make over $400,000 a year, and everyone under $4,000 is going to get their taxes cut. It talks about if you're regular folk like us, and you make less than $100,000, you're going to be getting a renter's credit. There's $5 billion invested in that. There's $15,000 cash free that you can have to buy a house, which, I mean, that's going to help so many people with just that alone.
Amazing. Absolutely.
$20 billion that's going into black communities that are struggling. People like to stereotype it. I know Trump does that crap all the time, and it pisses me off. Not as much, I'm sure, as the people that live there, but you know, it pisses off. It's like an offense against all black people that are like, you know, they went to grad school, they're lawyers, they're doctors, and the minute, you know, they start talking about black politics, Trump starts talking about poverty. And dude, do you think all black people are broke? Like,
right.
Most
the
of
ignorance. It's ignorance, man.
Man,
you know,
Monica, one of my old colleagues, she runs circles around me, man. Her education is off the charts. Her
I'm
career,
sure.
you know, like I couldn't even hold a candle to where she's at. You know what I mean? So, like
Right.
that stereotype is, I'm sure it doesn't offend me like it offends them. But
right. Absolutely,
you know, we gotta smash that. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go over, man. The DNC was off the chains.
it was
There was
crazy.
a very special moment when something that's never happened before happened. And I got to tell you guys, most people don't see me as an emotional person. We like to joke that it's very hard to hurt my feeling. But
oh man, wait! You're about to make me emotional. I'm telling you that right now.
When Jacquelyn got on the TV in front of that elevator and she spoke and she nominated Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. for the next president of the United States of America.
Yes.
I couldn't hold it in. I literally booked it as soon as she was done talking for the bathroom, and I was bawling my eyes out. I'm talking ugly crying, like snot coming out, ugly cry, man. It was so
I've
bad.
seen the photos. I actually seen the photos, just so you guys know.
I'm trying to hold it in because I didn't want my kids to hear it. I'm like,
man, it was a great moment. And when I think back to it, just like you're saying as well now, it was very emotional too. I cried before I even aired. In my bedroom alone with nobody here. You know, I just cried to myself, hoping and praying that my mom would just pop up out of air and give me a hug. And, you know, my mom is still living, but I just wanted my mother's comfort. You know what I mean? And nothing like it in this world. And I'll never change anything. I'll never do anything different. And I'm glad that I actually had a voice that day. That voice speaks for millions of people, you know? And wait, it even spoke for myself because I didn't realize what just happened until I watched it. You know, it was so different watching it versus being in the shoes that actual day. So it was crazy to me, Chris. You know, and it's something I'll never forget, and I'm sure a lot of people will not.
It's well deserved. And when you know, for anybody that doesn't know or that's just now catching up with us, we've been at this for a long ass time. And you know, it was like what, January, Jacquelyn, that we first talked?
Yes.
And, it's been a while, and it's been a long year. I've been doing this for 17 months now. You know, I was down with Biden from the very beginning. And, you know, going way back to when the campaign was just broke as all hell. And you know, Jacquelyn resonated with me because it's what I've been saying from the very beginning that, I mean, this election, it's not about politicians. It's about us.
Yes.
It's about people, right?
Everyday people, and, yes.
Yeah. And the thing about that moment in the elevator, right? The thing about that moment was that it was genuine, but it was one of the very few times, one of the very rare times that a regular person is on TV, or is at least, you know, on social media and going viral
Right.
with how they feel. And so
Absolutely.
when we founded Everyday Joes, Janes, and Jacquelyns, I mean, that's literally why we founded it that way, because of the fact that we wanted to be about everyday people, regular, everyday Americans that nobody ever bothers to ask what they think.
Right.
So it was like the quintessential moment. It was iconic because, you know, here was this man who is very likely going to be the next president of the United States of America. And, you know, he's actually getting an endorsement by, and he said it himself, someone that's a whole hell of a lot more important, you know, because you represent the average everyday person, right?
Absolutely.
I do to a lot of people too. You know, I've been working class my whole life. You know, a lot of people don't know, you know, much about my backstory. They know, you know, the basics. I've been sober for 18 years through a 12-step program. But I grew up, you know, people like to stereotype. And when you look at
Of
me,
course.
you might not think, you know, especially if I got a suit and a tie on, or if I'm like trying to work with a client or whatever, you may not think that I lived the life that I lived. But I came from the ghetto. I came from, you know, poverty. I came from nothing, from the streets. You know, a lot of people don't know. I was 14 years old when I left my mom's house. And that's after having spent years literally locked in a room with bars on the window, to a point where I would shove my nose up against the screen, and I can still today, right now, I can smell, it smells like matches. That screen smelled like a matchbook, right? Like a burnt match. That's what it smelled like. Just so that I could smell fresh air, because I wasn't allowed to go outside. I didn't grow up with TV. I didn't grow up with cartoons. I didn't grow up with music. The only music I was allowed to listen to was religious music or classical, right? Because everything was the devil. I had a very radically religious mother, and I grew up without my dad. And then when I did meet my dad as a teenager, uh, ironically, the guy she had trashed my entire childhood, she signed over rights to him like that. And I moved in with him, and it was the complete opposite of everything. It was a culture shock for me, because, you know, here was a guy who was like, "Here, son, here's a beer. You want another?" Like, you know,
Right.
basically a preteen.
Yep,
I
I
mean, you can call
understand.
that a teenager, but
Right. Right.
and the reason I'm telling you guys this backstory is because, see, this is what we do in recovery and 12-step programs. We hash shit out like this. You know, it's common. It's very common in a 12-step meeting to have, you know, a diehard Trump supporter with a beard all the way down here. He's got his overalls on. He's got the cowboy hat. He's got his Trump shirt, you know, and he's like, rah. You know, I remember it was only a couple months ago I was at a meeting, and it was like NRA, like everything, right? And he's sitting right next to a transgender person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see, that doesn't happen out here in real life, but it's normal for me because I've been a member of that program for like 25 years. So I'm accustomed. And plus I live in the Bay Area, where it's a very multicultural, you know, cultural society. But I've been accustomed to that kind of love and tolerance and acceptance, that you don't have to necessarily like each other, but you have to love each other, right?
Absolutely.
And for us, that's a tradition that's sacred, that everyone, because their life depends on it, has to follow. So, you know, I've been in the Sharks arena, the San Jose Sharks hockey team. I've been in the Sharks arena filled with 40,000 people in every language they're translating, and they're all sober, they're all clean, they're all off of everything, and they are every race, every gender, every economic class, every belief. They're all together, holding hands, praying to their God of their understanding, right? Accepting each other as a fellowship of mankind, humankind, right?
Absolutely.
I grew up with that. And what people don't know is that I struggled. You know, I lived with my dad for 3 months. And during that 3 months of time, I lost my virginity and on drugs, right? There was one night, I'll never forget it. I'd been drinking so much beer, and I used to do this to impress kids because I was the tag along, the wannabe, right? And I used to get bullied and pushed around, and I was always this really scrawny white kid, and I was the only white kid, right? So I had to like try to fit in any way that I possibly could, and I had a group of friends that would allow me to like hang around. And as soon as I moved in with my dad, you know, all of a sudden I started getting a little bit more popular and a little bit more accepted, because now after school, people can come over and he would put a bunch of weed down on the table and be like, have fun, just don't leave the house. Don't ever, you know, bring the cops here. And so one night I walked out, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't sleep because I drank too much beer. And I heard something tinkering in the garage. And so I go out there, and I see my dad hunched over with like, you know, this weird, you know, it was like a mechanic socket, right? And he's got a lighter, and I'm like, what are you doing? And, you know, my dad was one of those people, rest in peace, that his thing was he never wanted to be a hypocrite, right? And because of that, I'm one of these people, I'd rather be a hypocrite that grows and learns, you know, than someone who never changes and just stays the same.
Yes.
And my dad told me, he said, well, it's meth, it's speed, is what he said. It's speed. That's what the old guys used to call it. And he said, well, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you not to do it because I do it, and that would make me a hypocrite. And a normal person's reaction would be like, oh, hell no, get me away from that, right? But see, I was an alcoholic from the very beginning, and I do everything alcoholically, whether it's drugs or whatever it is, I do it like an alcoholic. And so I didn't have a normal reaction to seeing my dad bent over basically smoking crack. My first reaction was, what's it do? What's it feel like, right? And I took a hit, and as soon as it hit my chest and that stuff washed over me, that was it. I was gone. And from that moment on, you know, it was over for me. I mean, it had me from that very first time. And as a teenager, I tried. You know, there was a point where I cleaned up. I got a little job working at a sandwich shop. You know, I started going to meetings at 16 years old. And I cleaned up. I didn't, you know, work any steps. I didn't really get a sponsor. I didn't really do any of the things. But, you know, I made a beginning and got a little job. You know, it took a while. And eventually what happened is it was a relationship that took me out, you know. And I went out and I went freaking crazy. I went bananas with it. I bought the biggest thing that I could. I spent heck of money. By that time, I had already, you know, hustled my way into a career where I was getting paid a whole heck of a lot of money in the Bill Clinton economy. And I spent like $800. And I had the intention of just wallowing in my own misery to death, basically. Like, I had no intention of ever, like, you know, right. I was that kind of dramatic kid, you know, when I was younger. And so that sent me down into even more deeper, darker depths that we'll get into at another time, where, you know, I've been through things that, honestly, I could think of 10 things that most people couldn't survive one of them, you know? And that's not something that I'm happy about or that I brag about, because I would not wish those on anyone.
Right.
I survived them. I went through them. And so because of that, you know, I'm someone who, you may look at me in a suit and assume, you know, oh, you must live in the suburbs, you know, your life must be comfy. You know, must be so comfy, you know, with all your privilege. But, you know, I can tell you about my privilege. My privilege was that I was living in 2 different crack houses, going back and forth between the 2, staying as long as I could until they couldn't tolerate me, and then I have to give it a break and go over to the other crack house, right? and you know, that was the life. I was living that life, and it was hard. And there were people shooting, there were people killing each other. You know, these were bad people, and something was watching out for me because I never got arrested. I never got in trouble.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been handcuffed. I know what it's like, viewers. I know what it's like to have an automatic rifle touching the back of my skull and to be told with a whisper, if you make a move, if you make a sound, I will blow your brains out. I know what that's like.
Same here.
I know what it's like to be on a lawn, interlocking my fingers, paraded out for all to see. I know what it's like to walk through a police station with a glass pipe in my sock that they searched me 5 times and they still didn't find it. And I went from group home to group home to group home, and I always ran away from all of them because I was a rebel and because, you know, I couldn't take the life that they were forcing on me. So my issues with authority come from that because, you know, on the grand scale, we got authoritarians like Trump that want everyone to obey him, right?
Right.
They think the government is something that we're supposed to obey, right? And on the smaller scale, it's things like you've got these people in positions of authority that don't actually care about you at all, telling you what to do, and they're telling you the wrong thing a lot of the times, you know? So the reason that I feel like I need to qualify is because this is what we do in meetings. You know, when we go into a meeting and we chair, that's what we call it when we speak, or I speak to 200 alcoholics, or I go into a rehab and I speak to 100 alcoholics or drug addicts or whatever. What we do is we tell some of those war stories so that people can identify, right? And then we talk about what it's like now and how we're free, right? And that helps people carry the message the same way that it was carried to me, you know, by the man that saved my life. So in a way, these videos, these roundtables, you know, the whole cause of everyday people, everyday American Joes, Janes, Jacquelyns, common folks, you know, the whole point is that I would like, and, you know, Jacquelyn's, you know, said the same thing. What we want is we want to take that and bring it to the public, to the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
So that it takes the power out of it. When, you know, you see Wonder King on Twitter and he's talking about his rape story, that takes bravery, that takes courage, that takes some freaking cojones, right?
A lot. Yes.
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 And it takes the power out of it for everyone that saw that tweet and saw that thread that might have been through the same thing. Now they feel a little bit more like they can, you know, be a little bit more free to talk about it, right? And address it instead of trying to hide it, instead of trying to be ashamed of it, you know, that maybe it's okay because they see this guy's doing it and this dude's a badass and he's talking about it. And he looks like he's perfectly comfortable in his own skin. And if we can take that magic and we can bring that, you know, this is probably annoying seeing me adjust this the whole time, but, you know, I'm out here driving around.
It looks great. It looks great.
I got to. If we could take that magic and apply it to the rest of America, you know, I think that we can help people in a lot of ways that other people, you know, they don't do it. It's just not being done. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's going into the hood and asking them what they think about politics, what they think about presidents, what they think about, you know, what they need in their life, right? When's the last time you saw on TV someone go with a microphone into the projects and say, what do you need?
Right.
You know? Absolutely.
It's not happening. It's not.
So you got plans. You got plans. I want to hear about your plans, Jacquelyn. I know they want to hear about your plans.
Keeping it to a very minimal, or minimum, I should say. My plans really are to expand a brand. Not really cultural or political, but about everyday people. To hit the streets. And when I say hit the streets, like you said, going into the projects, I'm going to go into some of the nicest neighborhoods. I want to interview these people. I want to speak to them. I want to know what they feel. Soul to soul. You know? What is it that makes you? What is it that makes you think the way you think? Why do you like to vote, or why do you not want to vote? You know? And I'm not trying to convert anyone to voting. The reason why is because naturally it'll be a drive for them if I'm just being myself and asking them, what is it that you need? Like you said, what is it that you want out of this? What is it that you need? What is it that your community is lacking? What can I help with? If I can do something to change that, people will start thinking different as far as voting. Now voting is very important. The reason why is because now if I vote, which I never thought about, or maybe I thought about and I don't know who to vote for. At the end of the day, you'll be detailed on things. You'll understand, hey, maybe I should vote because of such and such and such. Or maybe, you know what, I need time to think about it. Whether you need time or not, nobody's rushing anyone. You know, it has to be something that you really believe in your heart, your mind, and your soul. Voting is for you. And what I mean for you, it's not for you to vote and yay, your president wins that you are voting on. No, it's about you voting, and there's changes that need to be made within your own community.
Yeah.
If we don't start like that by reaching out to people that have similar problems or similar issues like we have overcome already, we're not going to get anywhere. You know? So my goal, really, without broadcasting it yet, is to reach out to millions of voters and non-voters, you know, before, during, and even after this election. We got to keep it going. You know, it can't stop.
I agree. What I'm gonna do real quick, let me hit pause. I want to grab something that I had ready last time. I'm gonna read that, and then we could probably wrap this one up. You know, just right after that, plug what you got to plug. Let me go grab that. I'm gonna hit the pause button. All right, so I wrote out a couple things because I wanted to get back to them over a lot of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. And so one of them is, man, Twitter can be crazy sometimes. Twitter can be freaking crazy sometimes. And let me tell you, I've been stalked by the KKK. They tracked down my wife's job at one point. I mean, it could be nuts. And the thing that I kept hearing as I've been praying about this, you know, for a while now, the thing that I kept hearing that came to mind next really drives home the message that I think, you know, for me, it's the message that I need to say and I need to share because it's everything that I feel. And so if you're one of those people too, like me, that's outspoken and you run into drama and you run into stuff like that on Twitter, this is for you too. I'll tell you where this comes from, but I'm going to tell you after I read it. And it goes like this. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you'll win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create it anyway. If you find serenity, peace, and happiness, some may be jealous, but be happy anyway. And the good that you do today will often be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway.
Absolutely.
Give the best you have. And it may never be enough, but give the best you have anyway. Because in the final analysis, it was never between you and them. It was between you and God. It was never about them anyway. And that came from Saint Mother Teresa. It was the last message she wrote in Calcutta. Now I'm gonna tell you a couple more things here to recap some of the most recent events. When First Lady Michelle Obama spoke, she made it clear that going high doesn't mean overlooking negativity. It doesn't mean that we don't fight back. Quote, it does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Instead, going high means taking the harder path, a path she describes as standing fierce against hatred. And I will always stand fierce against hatred. I don't apologize for that. Going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth. It's easy to be divisive. It's easy to make people feel afraid, she said. It's also short-sighted. Now, Joe is not perfect, and he'd be the first person to tell you that. I'm not perfect, and I will be the first person to tell you that. So my message to our viewers about me, myself, is look, I will 8-mile myself any day of the week. You can ask me anything, and I will give you the honest truth. I really will, because I've been doing it for 18 years of sobriety. That's the only reason that I'm even alive right now. It's because every time I did something stupid, every time I did something that I owed amends for, every time that I wronged someone or hurt someone, I had to go make amends for it. And even though they had done things that were justifiably wrong, I found out that for me, righteous anger kills me. It kills me. It takes me back to alcohol. It takes me back to drugs. I can't have it in my life, right? It makes me spiritually sick. So I have to just look at the me part. Says Joe Biden has served this nation his entire life without ever losing sight of who he is. But more than that, he's never lost sight of who we are and all of us. And so I can try to do the same thing. And it's what I try to do. I'm going to fail. I'm going to be human. I'm going to stutter and stammer just like he does, just like my boy does. I'm going to mix up words. I'm going to accidentally say stupid crap. It's going to happen because I'm a human being. You know, I tell my wife all the time, I'm going to let you down. I don't give her these promises that a lot of people do because it's cliche. They think you should say, I will never cheat on you in the world. It's never going to happen for the rest. I don't know that. I don't know that, Jacquelyn. I might let her down someday.
Right.
So I don't tell her that. I don't make promises that I can't, and no one is God, right? You can't, you know, come at the world and at people like you're infallible, like it's impossible for you to be wrong. Man, I've been wrong so many times. I've had to learn and I've had to grow and I've had to change and adapt. And the last thing that I want to read off is a part. This comes from what we call the Big Book. And the reason that I'm avoiding saying the name is because we have a tradition. It's not a rule because there is no authority in the 12-step program that I belong to. But there's a tradition that we remain anonymous at the level of press, radio, and film. and this is press, radio, and film. So it means that I can use my first name. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris. I am an alcoholic and an addict. I've been sober for 18 years. I'm very human, and I mess up all the time. And this is from our book, and this is something that saved my butt so many times. It says, we ask God, and this is the God of your understanding, your higher power, whatever faith that may be. You could be an atheist, and you are welcome. I welcome you.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever is greater than you, whatever you want to call that, you can call that manifest destiny or the synchronicity of events. It's all good with me. Quote, we ask God to help us show the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend when angry. Cheerfully, right? Think about it like somebody's dying of cancer. They're going to be cranky, they're going to be mean, they're going to be rude, right? And could you imagine somebody in the cancer ward yelling at a cancer patient because they're cranky, right? We don't do that because we clearly understand this is someone in pain, they're sick. And so we have mercy and we have pity on them.
Absolutely.
It says, when a person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick person. How can I be helpful to them? God save me from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done. We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy any chance of being helpful. We can't be helpful to all people, but God, at least, will show us how to take a kind and tolerant view of each and every one. And that's the commitment that I have to hold myself accountable to, because when it comes down to it, I don't owe Twitter people anything. You don't owe Twitter people anything, right? But I owe something to my God of my understanding, right? It's between me and him, and I have to hold myself accountable for my behavior. So I will say this one thing here. I lost my patience on Twitter a couple weeks back, and I apologize for losing my patience. I will try not to do that. I will try to be better than that. And that's it. That's the one thing that I have to hold myself accountable to my God is for that, for losing my patience. Now, I'm not going to read all this extra stuff because we don't have the time for it. But I can tell you that most alcoholics aren't all that different than regular people. We have egos. And in our book, it talks about the actor that wants to be the director and run the whole show. When we're in our ego, we want to control everyone. We want to control everything. And we can't handle different viewpoints. We can't handle different, whatever. And that ego wants to rebel because our actor is self-centered and egocentric, right? It says, he's like the retired businessman who wants to lull in the Florida sunshine in the winter, but complain about the sad state of the nation, right? He's like the minister who sighs over the sins of the 21st century, politicians, reformers who are sure all would be utopia if only everyone would listen to them. But that's not how life works. What usually happens, it doesn't work. And he begins to feel that life doesn't treat him right. And so he may be more demanding or more kind to try and get his way. But if he's honest with himself, if he's capable of that kind of honesty, that self-honesty, he has to admit, whatever, isn't he most concerned with himself, his own resentments, his own self-pity, his own ambitions, right? Selfishness and self-centeredness that we think is at the root of all of our problems. We got to be rid of it. So this thing right here that we're doing is service. And if we're doing real, true service for our fellow Americans, common people, everyday, average, regular people, true service means we don't need anything back. And if I start demanding something back or getting bitter that I'm not getting something back, it means it was never free to begin with. It was never service. It was like a business deal, right? I was expecting, I do this for you and then you do this for me. And that's not free. That's not service. that's not selfless.
I agree.
Right? So, listen, I know we got a lot of stuff going on with Kenosha. I'm so sorry. I'm happy that
Oh,
Joe
gosh.
on his way there.
Thank you, Joe. Yes.
That he reached out to the
Yes.
family. I think it's extremely appropriate and respectful that he waited until it was a time when it would be safe and secure, and he had the invitation from both the family and the city and the governor, because it costs a lot of taxpayer money to divert the police to back up the Secret Service anytime someone who's either president or running for president comes in to, you know, Trump's chaotic mess of America that's happening right now. And I think those commercials and those ads that show Trump's America trying to spin it off as Biden's America, I think he's getting a little too far ahead of himself there, because Biden's not president yet.
Right. Does he know something that we don't know? Who knows, right?
You're the man. You want everybody to think that you're the man, you know?
I mean,
so,
I wouldn't oppose if he puts Biden in the hot seat. That's fine. But you got to take action, or you got to take responsibility for your actions already. You know, a lot is happening on your watch, sir. That's it.
Yeah, it's on him.
Know?
This is Trump's America. So all these slam ads that are trying to smear it and, you know, oh, this is going to be Biden's chaos. Bro, I mean, that stuff is going to stop, at least on the left-hand side. That stuff is going to stop the moment Biden takes office and is sworn in.
Absolutely.
You're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. Because the reason these riots are happening in the first place is because these police officers, and sometimes it's the whole goddamn police department, these police officers are killing Black Americans, whether it's a knee on their neck or whether it's shooting them in the back. However it is, they're killing them, and then you let some scrawny white dude walk by with a, you know, semi-automatic rifle. Don't obey, right? We watched that kid. He did not obey the police. They told him, don't come down here. He kept walking, just waltzing along, strutting along, went over by the news reporters, and he did not give a F. And they didn't shoot him. They didn't open fire. And he was armed. And you shoot unarmed Black Americans.
Yes.
That's the whole reason they're protesting.
So crazy.
To begin with.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Biden calm. That hashtag, there's a reason for that. Because we need calm leadership. We need leadership from someone like Joe Biden, who I believe, and you know, the person in Georgia that I got off the phone with earlier today also believes the same thing. I will tell you this, America. I believe that Joe Biden could be the greatest president in any of our lifetimes. And I'll tell you why, too. It's not just because of his character. It's not just because of the pain and the losses and the lessons that he's learned. It's because of that calm, steady leadership and his ability to learn, his ability to listen, and his ability to be, to show dignity and respect for all people. When he gets into the Oval Office and when he's standing before Congress, Republicans, conservatives, moderates, Democrats, liberals, progressives, independents, all those people, they will listen to him. And there's not another person I can think like that. And what I think America needs to know is that we're going to have a cross between Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Lyndon Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act. Trump wants to tell people that he's done more for Black people than any president since maybe Lincoln. Didn't Lyndon Johnson sign the Civil Rights Act? What are you talking about, dude?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Trump is just something. He's a different species, man.
My God, and that guy will say anything. He's like a drug dealer. He will say anything to hustle.
It's the truth. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't even want to speak on him. It drains my energy.
What can you tell us about your plans this month? We're gonna do another show. what can you tell us about the next show? What are we going to be talking about? Because you got a lot of plans, and I know you're trying to hide some of them because we can't just say it all. But there's big stuff coming.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of probably meet and greets, which is good because I want people to know that I'm actually real. It'll be a lot of gifts given away and surprises as well. Going to different places. Those will be announced the day of or like the day before. It's going to be a lot of interaction. So be prepared for that, Chris. I want everybody to be prepared for it, you know. I will be in a city near you, if that's the correct saying, okay? And I think we're going to take off because we want things to happen. And I think people are ready for things to really happen, where they can see it happening and they can be like, well, this wasn't just talk, it's being done, you know? So that's where I'm at. And it's a lot coming up, a lot that he said that I'm keeping private until the last minute. And we're going to have some fun and we're going to get united. That's exactly what's going to happen.
We got a lot of fundraisers for Jacquelyn coming up. So if you guys are watching this video, take a look around everydayamericanjoe.com. We're going to have information about fundraisers specifically for Jacquelyn for the projects that she's got coming up. And there is big news coming from our crew and from our grassroots group. Not just the Biden campaign, but from us directly. We're doing big things, and you're going to find out about it real soon. So go to the site, check out her page, and you'll find all the updates that you need to there. You can even contribute now, and you can donate to the cause. And we can't tell you all the details, but you're going to want to. You're going to want to, because this is a voice that we don't want to amplify, because she's going to go around and she's going to amplify voices, just like we said, that other people don't. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
no time to waste.
We will speak. We will be heard. We got a voice too.
Absolutely.
And we're going to use it. All right, Jacquelyn. All right, America, from California all the way to Jersey and NYC, down to Georgia and pale blue Florida.
Nice.
Good night. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you real soon, because we're going to have another one right after this one. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Chris.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.